The centerpiece of Xi Jinping's time so far has been this concept that he has put forward of the China dream, the 中国梦, which is interesting. It's yet to be fully elaborated. It's kind of work in progress, actually. But it seems, at least from his speeches, that it has at least two core elements. The first is a more equitable and communitarian society, because China is anything but an equitable and communitarian society. China, I believe, has now overtaken Brazil as having the world's highest Gini coefficient, a measure of social inequality, or it's least close to Brazil. And if anybody who's lived in China knows that this is a society of great inequity between wealthy and those who are not. And it's a society that is very divided between coast and inland. It's a society in which there's no rule of law, as I say. Everybody's living in a kind of Hobbesian, what I call Hobbesian hedonism, trying to get what they can get as quickly as they can get it. And so that's produced a very unstable, inequitable society. And Xi Jinping's China dream, just like Hu Jintao's harmonious society concept, it doesn't seem very different, frankly, from Hu Jintao's harmonious society concept. It's just repackaged and renamed. That seems to be one element of his dream. Second element of the dream is the so-called renaissance or revival, the Dafuxing, they call it in Chinese, the Dafuxing of the Chinese nation. That is a notion to restore China to its central place in the global order, and for all Chinese to have dignity and in the world.
They are giving early indications that they want to pursue reform on the economic front. On the political front, I think the question is much more difficult, as both you and Sérgio mentioned. But I would like to stress one point that you raised, is the link between economic and political reform. To me, I think that's a conclusion that I take from my experience in China. I think that after '89, in spite of some reforms that you mentioned that are very important in the change in the leadership and so on, the fact that you have to retire at 70 and so on, which is significant, but in some attempts at internal democracy in the party and this sort of thing, local elections, but the political agenda lagged behind. And what I think is a major difference is that there is no clear blueprint for a political reform.
In order for China to accomplish its dream, and I think the main dream is the leadership in the world, it will have to take care of its vulnerabilities, which you mentioned, and I think which I also tried to point out. In a world where there's no room for inconsistencies between what you do at home and what you do abroad, and in a world in which China has to tell more clearly what it is emerging for.